Hey, Dee, the weirdest thing happened when I was taking cuttings from that African blue basil that I have.
So what happened?
So I was listening to this podcast of Horticulture Week, which is out of the UK,
Uh-huh.
and they were interviewing Barbara Siegel, who we
Yep.
know and met through GardenCom.
Lovely lady.
Loveliest lady, well-known herbalist, big-time author. Anyway, at the end of the episode, I'm holding my African blue basil cuttings. I took 2 off my plant. I'm getting ready to dip them in the hormone. And he says, what are your favorite desert plants, which you would take to a deserted island? And she said, can I name 2?
And I said, what are they?
I can't remember what she said on the first one, but the second one, or maybe it's the first one, African blue basil. I'm holding African blue basil the minute when I hear that.
Do-do-do-do.
Yes. And so on that note,
Wow.
isn't that freaky weird?
It is freaky weird because just a few years ago, hardly anybody even knew about that plant. Now it's the darling of the plant world.
Anyway, let's get going. Welcome to the Garden Angelist, where we talk about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana, where I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about 1/3 of an acre.
And I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I garden about 1.5 acres on 7.5 acres.
That seems more reasonable. We call ourselves Garden Angelists because we are evangelists for gardening. We love gardening and we want others to love it too.
Yes, we do, and we aren't afraid to spill the beans and tell all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. But that's enough of who, what, when, where. I cannot wait to move on to this week's episode.
Hi, Dee.
Hi, Carol. Did you want to know why I can't wait?
Because you're going to give us a minute with Masha?
Well, I mean, no. Because I'm excited. We're going to talk about seeds and we're going to talk about our seed orders. That's almost as good as Christmas for a gardener.
Yes, it is. It is a wonderful thing to see your seeds arriving and you're like, ooh, this is going to be good this year.
All the dreams and hopes, they're all fresh, and nothing bad has happened yet. So tell me what you've been doing in your garden this week.
Well, obviously I took cuttings off my African blue basil plant that I had gotten from a cutting off the plant I had outside. Mm-hmm. So I struck those. I have starting 2 more. I sowed more microgreens. I harvested some microgreens, had some on my salad today. They were yummy good. Mm-hmm. Did a little walk around outside. The snowdrops that showed up in, I think, December are long gone, and none have replaced them. And it's actually kind of boring looking out there because it's kind of winter.
Yeah, mine is too. It's kind of winter, although it kind of looks like an almost clean slate. I mean, I need to cut everything down. I haven't done that yet, of course, but in the perennial garden. But the rest of the garden, it's ready for, seeds. We should explain real quickly why you took cuttings of your African blue basil. You can't.
Well, because I started 6 or 7 cuttings, and then I potted up like 5 of them, but 4 died, so I ended up with 1. And it's growing kind of lanky, so I took 2 more cuttings off it. I'm going to try to root those.
Because you want at least 3 plants, right?
Yeah, and I'm just kind of hedging my bets because it's still a long way until May when I can put it outside. So we shall see.
But that wasn't really what I was asking.
I don't know.
Because
they're hard to find.
I know. This is totally off the cuff, and so I shouldn't have done that to you.
Because they're hard to find.
They're extremely hard to find, and they don't grow from seed. They grow from cuttings. You cannot get African blue basil seeds because it's a cross between 2 different things. And right now, since I did this off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly what they are, but I've written about it dozens of times. And so they're a weird cross. So we all just need to keep taking cuttings. And that's what people you buy them from do too. And I just thought we should stress that because people will be running around looking for African blue basil seeds. No.
Run around, look for African blue basil plants.
Yeah, instead. So you want to hear about my garden?
I do.
I sowed microgreens, Carol.
I saw on the Instagram you had a thing, and you even mentioned your friend Carol.
I did. I mentioned you because
I'm an influence on you.
I finally did it. Yeah, imagine that. We're like so close. We're influences all the time. I'm still watering. I sowed those 2 days ago. I sowed the Jazzy mix, and I think it's called Ciao Bella. I sowed the basil mix, which is 2 colors of basil, and keeping them watered, so that they'll germinate. And then I am watering my houseplants every Sunday because I try to remember to do it on Sundays, which I haven't done it yet today. And we are recording this on a Sunday. And then that's when I check them for critters.
Yes, mealybugs, spider mites, scale.
Gack. And then my amaryllis are finally flowering and they look really good. And I'm actually thinking about moving them. My front of my house faces west and my back of my house faces east. And when I sit and watch TV with Bill at night, I never look behind my head at the west. I look over to the east. And so I need to put them in that window. That's my plan.
You do. You do.
And you wanted to know about my minute with Masha this week.
Yeah, our listeners are going to demand it as a new feature of our podcast.
So in the last week, she's 3 weeks now. So she was 12 weeks old when I got her. So she's 15 weeks. She has turned into a little terrorist. In other words, she's a toddler. The good news is she and Maddie play really well together. My granddaughter, when they came over Friday night, Masha chased Maddie all over the house. And then she'd get scared when Maddie would chase her and back and forth. It was very fun to watch. And right now she is kicking a packet of seeds all across the kitchen because I was looking through my seeds. And I love her anyway.
Oh, that's sweet.
I do love her.
With that, let's move on and I'll do a quote and we'll get into our first topic.
Amen. Let's go.
Dreams are the seeds of change. Nothing ever grows without a seed and nothing ever changes without a dream. Debbie Boone.
How cool. Debbie Boone.
I know.
I didn't expect that kind of a quote from Debbie Boone, but there you go. We're going to talk about flower seeds we ordered or were given that we're going to start this year. And we have a bunch.
And by start, we're going to sow indoors.
Yeah. And you know what? I may have accidentally put in one that I'm going to cast outside. But if so, I will tell you. So we're just talking about indoor seeds, and we'll explain a couple of them, why we're sowing them indoors. And why don't you tell people why we grow flowers from seeds, if we can?
We grow flowers from seeds because we're obsessed. No.
That's the truth. People should buckle in because this is a long list, and it's kind of going to be I have a feeling, a long newsletter this week.
Well, yeah. The main reasons are you can get a lot more variety if you go and find seeds because there's so many seed sources than if you just wait to see what shows up at your big box store or even your local greenhouse has limitations. It's often cheaper to buy a packet of seeds and start a bunch of plants, but you can't really count all the lights and shells and flats and potting soil. If you start adding all that up, I'm not sure it's actually going to be cheaper, but it's probably cheaper, especially if you want a bunch of a plant.
Right. I'm going to say, even if it's not cheaper, you can get a whole lot of something. So if you like Cheyenne Spirit Echinacea, for example, you can grow it from seed and you can have all of it you ever want.
And more. And then I do think nothing builds confidence and makes you feel more successful as a gardener than to actually grow something from seeds. I think that's, I go back to early days and checking out with seeds at like Walmart and the girl saying, "Do these things work?" I'm like, "Yes, they work. Thank God for you they work. That's how we get food." Anyway, but nothing makes you feel more confident and successful as a gardener, I think, than successfully starting plants from seeds. It's kind of miraculous.
And it is miraculous, I think. And this is a teaser for next week. We're going to talk about starting seeds and what it takes to start seeds indoors, which one of our listeners, Masha just jumped on my back, one of our listeners on Instagram, she's a listener and she follows me on Instagram, she said she wanted us to do that topic. And I said, lucky for you, we are. So let's start talking about those that we've ordered. I'm holding Masha so she'll quit climbing my back.
Well, you have ordered more than I have, but I have some seeds from prior that I'm growing.
My garden is bigger.
That is true.
So do you want to go first?
I can certainly go first. I So I did talk about zinnia and gustifolia, which you can never find flats of those in the spring.
Right.
So I ordered crystal white and crystal yellow because I want to put crystal yellow out here in front. I don't know what I'm doing with crystal white, but I just thought those would be pretty. Track pollinators. I also, from All America Selections, they very generously sent me some seeds to trial, including that Coleus Sun Coral Candy, which I think you got too.
I did.
I'm going to start that from seed. They sent the double shot orange snapdragon that we were all, ooh, pretty. I wonder if they listen and then they're like, get that to Carol, get that to Dee.
I don't know.
And then the Celosia Flama Orange is another orange flower that they sent me seeds for. So I'm going to.
So I grew that last year.
Oh,
and it was
I'm going to grow it this year. They also sent Petunia Wave Carmine Velour. And I find that petunias really do well from seed for me. So I'm excited to try that one. I grew another one they had from seed 2 years ago, and I was really impressed with it.
Okay.
And then,
do you want me to talk?
Well, I do have a few more.
Is there more? Yeah, go for it.
I'll just say that, you were trying to talk me into buying that Verbena bonariensis Bampton, I think.
Yeah, Bampton.
And this will be a segue. So All America Selection sent me one called Vanity, which is...
I have that one too.
I don't have that one. And I thought, you know what? I'm really only going to grow one. So I'll grow Vanity, and you can grow Bampton and Vanity and whatever you want. So what else are you growing from? Tell us about your flowers, Dee. And I'll chime in with a few more that I've got that I'm undecided on.
Can you hear the kitten purring?
No.
Because she's decided she has to be in my face. All right, so I've got to go back up to the segue can be verbena. So I got the same verbena you did this year. I have never grown it before. But last year I grew the verbena that Andra selected in her garden. Okay. And I got seeds from her, and it did really well. And here's why I like growing verbena bonariensis from seed and then being able to put it out in the garden. It's a great see-through flower, and you can just, put it all over. It doesn't take much room. It grows really well. It's beloved by butterflies. And on top of that, it just doesn't take up a lot of room. And it also can handle really dry conditions and wet conditions for that matter.
Cool.
Okay, so here's what I'm growing. I've got to go back up here so I can see it. Okay, obviously zinnias. I did not list all my zinnias, but I will this week on my, in fact, after we get done here, if I have time, I'm going to sit down and write a blog post. I know it's been a while. So I will list all my zinnias on there because there's so many. Now, I'm also doing my flower of the year, Nicotiana.
Yes.
Which I'm doing Cranberry Isles and Deep Purple Perfume, which both came from Select Seeds, and Lavender Cloud, which I can only find at Hudson Valley Seeds. So I ordered some from them. And then this year I decided I was going to grow some Cheyenne Spirit Echinaceas because what I have found is they do really well in my garden. And, they're all different sizes and heights and all kind of colors and stuff. But over time, they kind of fade away.
I know yes.
So Echinaceas are weird. And so sometimes they just fade away. And so I decided this year I was going to grow them from seed and sprinkle them throughout the garden because I'm doing more prairie garden all the time. And then from Baker Creek, I bought double sunset gaillardia, which is so pretty. I'm going to show Carol a picture of it.
That is pretty.
It's really pretty. It still has the really center, that great center for pollinators, but it has, I don't know, these cool
extra petals.
So I'm going to grow that. Add extra petals, and they kind of flare at the end. And then for fun, I'm going to try to grow Jupiter Spirit again, which is Centranthus, and people are going to go, try to grow. That one's really easy. It's not easy in my garden for some reason. I can't keep it going. So I'm hoping by seed I can get it going. And then I got on the Baker Creek website, and they had Salvia Sirius, like Sirius Black from the Harry Potter books, is how it's spelled. And it's called Sirius Blue Sage, and it is another one that is really, really pretty. So it looks a lot like lavender.
That is very pretty.
In my cut flower garden. And then Atomic Purple Gomphrena, which is from Baker's Creek. And then let's talk about some more of yours, because we have some.
Well, the other thing is I have violet and viola seeds in the refrigerator that are from, they're getting kind of old. And I thought, I'm going to grow all those. And they include like a violet called Freckles, which is a variegated flower. And Nan Andres sent me those. So I'm going to have like a flat of those. And I did that. It's been at my other house, so at least 25 years ago. And then just sort of see if I can get some of those to naturalize around. So I'm going to bust open all those seeds and get those sown. That cat is annoying.
I told you she's a terrorist right now. She climbed up my back, and then she is getting ready to get on her keys. But if I just hold her, she'll stop. Next time I will put her in another room like a baby.
So you're going to grow a bunch of viola seeds.
Yes, you influenced me, and so did my friends in Tulsa, Beth and Teresa. They always grow the most beautiful blue violas and pansies. And you can't find that many different types, in the stores. And so here's all the ones I'm going to try. This is going to be... This is
an insane list. Even I think this is a little bit on the insane side, but I'm excited. I'm excited for you, Dee. Let's count how many as we go through.
Okay. So the first one I'm going to start Celestial Blue. That's number 1. Blue Perfection. An Antique Laeta Viola, which is all three of those are from Baker Creek. The first two are pansies. The last one was a viola. But remember, I like to put them in pots.
I know that.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. Then I've got the Blues Pansies and Cool Summer Breeze Violas from Botanical Interests, which we will link to. She's holding her hand up and saying 5. Then there's Penny Denim Jump Up Violas, which I actually grew this fall, and they were fabulous. And then Inspire Plus True Blue Pansies from Johnny's Selected Seeds, and Frizzle Sizzle, which is not blue. And that's it. That's 8.
That's 8.
That's not that bad.
I probably have 8 different varieties of violas and violets that I'm going to be sowing. So, I guess I can't really.
Yeah, judge.
Yeah.
And that's assuming, and we also don't know if some of my fall planted violas and pansies will come back in the spring. We had some pretty bad cold, so they may not. Oh, and also, speaking of something that isn't a viola, I'm always hopeful. So I'm doing Janet Scott sweet peas, which I'm going to try to sow outside early. And that's the one thing that I put on here that I'm sowing outside. I usually transplant them, but they don't like to really be transplanted.
No, they do not. They're kind of fussy that way.
So there you go. Did we talk about most of our...
Well, you didn't mention Celosia Asian Garden that you're growing.
Okay.
And the Viking Asian Explorer Garden. Begonia.
Which was given to us.
I grew that last year.
Yeah, I got it this year and last year because, you and I got some different things. And so I am definitely going to do that. So...
Well, and I got some, when I ordered from Botanical Interest, they sent some dahlia seeds, some cactus flowering dahlias to grow from seed.
Yeah, are you going to try it? I know that some things work from seeds. I'm going to move this chair so it's going to make a lot of noise. Get ready.
And the listeners won't hear that because I will edit that out.
I figured.
So anyway, I don't know if I'm going to grow the dahlia seeds or not. I'm not, I know everybody loves them. Uh-huh. I'm just not big into them. My nephew's wife said she was growing a lot of dahlias and thought, well, I could see if she wants to have those seeds.
You could, and I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
I also didn't mention the heleniums I'm going to grow from seed. I ordered those on Etsy. So I don't remember the names. They're just unusual heleniums. So I'm going to try growing them from seed. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't, and if they have to be refrigerated and I missed that cold period, I might read up on those this week now that I think about it. And then I could still stick them outside in a gallon jug of milk, empty gallon jug of milk. Maybe. Cold sowing.
Cold sowing. And I also got a wild bergamot, a monarda from Botanical Interest. They sent me with some goodies, and I thought, am I going to grow those? I don't know. So those would be ones that I might try the winter sowing. We can talk about winter sowing next week.
Yeah, we could discuss how to sow stuff indoors and winter sowing. That would be a really good, helpful podcast.
We are going to be busy, but that's one we have to plan for.
Yeah, we may have to work on that this afternoon. Okay, so you want to do the next quote?
Go for it.
Nourish beginnings, let us nourish beginnings. Not all things are blessed, but the seeds of all things are blessed. The blessing is in the seed. That's Muriel, and I think it's Rukeyser. I don't know Muriel.
Sounds right to me.
I like it, though. I have a question.
That's good.
Is it really bergamot or
Yes.
is it bergamot? I don't know.
I always say bergamot.
Okay, sounds good. All right, vegetable seeds we ordered or were given that we are going to start this year. Do you want to go first or you want me?
I started out last time, so
My turn?
tell us about the seeds. Yes, you're starting these seeds indoors.
Okay, well then I won't talk about the turnips because I do those outdoors.
Okay.
So deep purple bunching onions from Johnny's Selected Seed. Comanche and giant Musselburgh leeks. And Red Baron bunching scallions. Those are from Territorial.
I'm growing the bunching onion Tokyo Long White. I got those from Botanical Interest. And then All American Selection sent me creme brulee, which is a scallion, not a shallot.
Yeah, a shallot. That
Not
makes
a scallion,
sense.
a shallot. So I'll start those inside.
Yum. I've grown shallots. I like shallots. I grow them a lot. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about icicle and Angela eggplants. I got icicle eggplants from the All American Seed Selection. Angela, don't know why I bought it. I'm sure there was a good reason.
I am not going to start eggplant from seed this year. I might buy a couple plants at the garden center. We'll see.
And then we got Buffy peppers, or did you get Buffy? Did you get Buffy?
I did not get Buffy from All America's Selections. I got Mad Hatter, which I've grown before. Is a very good one.
I love Mad Hatter. I've actually bought Mad Hatter before because I loved it so much when we tried it. It's a really beautiful pepper. It's not too hot. It's delicious. I know nothing about Buffy except for I looked it up on their website, and it's a sweet pepper, one of the small ones.
Yeah, for sweet
Swedish.
peppers, I bought the old California Wonder, Big Bertha, and Cubanelle. Because you, like I've said before, got to have Big Bertha in your vegetable garden. That's just kind of like you gotta.
You gotta. I don't gotta. I used to grow Big Bertha a long time ago. She doesn't produce enough peppers, and I like to grow chili peppers. They do better in Oklahoma, honestly, than bell peppers do. Although I have grown bell peppers, and I do grow Cubanelle because there's just nothing better than Cubanelle when you just slice it up and put it in a stir fry or something. The cat just fell off the window because she is not very graceful yet. She will be someday.
So I realized the only hot pepper seeds I bought were early jalapeno, and I thought I'll probably just see what other ones they have at the greenhouse, and I'll at least have the early jalapeno, which may be enough.
I'm not sure people want me to go down my whole hot pepper thing, do they?
You've got a big list, and I'm not sure people want me to go down through I'm limiting my tomatoes list, which now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, that's not so many.
It has 12.
Okay,
It's
well,
about my limit.
that's like me and the violas this year. Okay, so I know I'm growing Anaheim. I'm growing Big Jim, which Big Jim and Anaheim peppers are similar. It's just Big Jim's a variety out of New Mexico that we've talked about endlessly. I'm growing a particular hot pepper. I couldn't tell you what it is. Like I said, I'm growing Buffy, which is not hot. I'm sure I'm growing poblanos because I love poblano peppers. And that's all I'm going to say I'm growing this year. Shall we go on to tomatoes? Would you like me to go first?
Yeah, go first. I'm just going to say this.
Right.
I'm growing too many cherry tomatoes. Like we said last week, I'm growing a lot of darker tomatoes. And I was pleased that All America Selection sent me Midnight Snack because, that's another dark tomato and it's a cherry.
I think they actually do listen to this podcast. Okay, so for my tomatoes, I have one that would work for your list, and she's called Black Strawberry. That was my most beautiful tomato, large cherry tomato from last year. And they looked like jewels when they hung on the branch. In fact, I think I have a picture of them, and we can put it on this week's newsletter if you want.
Yes, you can send that to me.
I'm sure.
But what would be really sweet is if you open that packet and say, that's way more seeds.
I need to send some to Carol.
Yeah.
I can probably do that. They start out and when they're green, they look silvery. And by the time they turn their lovely ripened color, I'm looking for them real quick. They are just, okay, this picture does not do them justice. They're the prettiest tomatoes I ever grew. Okay. So those, and then I'm growing a weird one called Evil Olive. And look how funny it looks. You want some of those?
I think I'm going to pass on Evil Olive.
It's green with the red inside. I think it looks interesting. It's a trifecta of marbled colors, ripening slowly, starting out olive green, lightening up with red streaks when ripe. It's insanely productive. It's a cherry.
So, well, I guess if you sent me some seeds, I would be forced to try it, but I just made up a new rule for myself. Uh-huh. I'm not growing any vegetable that got the word evil in it.
Okay, well, then you can't have any. All right, and then I bought both of those from Baker Creek to let people know. And then I bought Bread and Salt, which is a kind of a medium red tomato. It looks fabulous. Bought it from Baker Creek. And then I bought another one called Gold Medal because it's a cool color. It's yellow. And then I've got some other ones coming from other places, but I can't remember what they are. You tell them go through your 12. We know of like one now. So far.
Well, I can't remember everything about them. I bought them all from Pine Tree Garden Seeds. So Blue Beach, Sun Dipper, and Sun Dipper is the one that Burpee sent a trial plant or two last year. Loved it to pieces. Uh-huh. Blushing Star, Blue Beauty, Yellow Pear, Black Cherry, Rutgers. Rutgers is an old-fashioned variety, and I thought I need to have a tried and true regular tomato out there. So Rutgers it is.
Right. I love Rutgers. It's one of my very favorite tomatoes. I found my other tomatoes. They were all from, keep going. You weren't finished. Keep going.
I'm almost done. Sun Gold, Striped German, Cherry Bomb, and then I talked about Midnight Snacks. So I think that's about 13, and that's how many I want to stop with.
Yeah. Last year I think I grew 25, and I'm not doing that this year.
That's a lot.
So I'm growing OTV, which means off the vine, brandy wine, and that's from Craig LaHoulier, and I can't remember the lady who helped him pick that one. I think I don't know. There's a whole story behind that tomato. And then I'm growing Mortgage Lifter VFN, which means that it has some disease resistance, because sometimes the old Mortgage Lifter does not. Then I'm growing Rosella Purple Tomato, I don't know, and Virginia Sweets. And if I remember right, Virginia Sweets is another cherry, but it's super sweet. So some of mine are sweet, some aren't. All of these came from South Exposure Seed Exchange.
Very nice.
What else are we growing? I don't know.
Well, as far as that VFN and all those letters, you're not going to be surprised by this. I wrote an article for Family Handyman on what do all those letters mean behind the tomato name. Yeah. It doesn't tell you exactly, but it sort of gives you a clue. And if it's been published, I don't know if it's been published yet, we'll put a link to it. Because what would our show notes be without a link to one Family Handyman article that Carol wrote?
Written by Carol.
Yeah.
Yes, because I don't write for him anymore. Okay, so sounds good. And then we have other seeds too, but we're not going to talk about the other seeds because we direct some of those. We're talking about beans.
Well, yeah. Later in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about what we're going to plop directly into the garden.
Yes, and I actually am growing more stuff this year in the garden than I did last year, even though I'm still part of the CSA. Because I discovered, like, for example, I didn't get any beans in my CSA last year, but I think one time, and I really like green beans, so I'm going to grow those.
Well, you can set up a CSA for all your kids.
Set up a CSA for all me. I can give some stuff away. Is that what you're saying to my children?
Yes.
Yes. And actually, I gave some tomatoes to my CSA last year because they had a tomato failure. So there you go.
Ooh, never good. Mm-hmm. Never good. I'm going to do a quote so we get on to the book. It is chiefly through books that we enjoy the communion with superior minds. In the best books, authors talk to us, give us their most precious thoughts, and pour their souls into ours. God be thanked for books. William
I love that.
Ellery Channing. That's a nice one.
Quote. It is.
And I am thankful for the book on the bookshelf, A Gardener's Guide to Botany by Scott Zona, Ph.D. We both got review copies of this. What do you think, Dee?
I think it's a great book. I think it's not, I love botany. In fact, I have what's called an emphasis in botany, although I couldn't tell you half of what I learned in college.
I couldn't either.
I love, the reason I loved botany was because I loved to draw plants, because I used to draw quite a bit and still do occasionally. And so for me, I also like to diagram sentences, and I think of botany as kind of the diagramming sentences of the plant world.
Okay, that's a bit of a stretch,
think about it.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's not. It's not a stretch. Anyway, it's really good because it's not dumbed down too much. But it's also not so sciencey that you want to choke yourself.
Exactly. And then he puts in little botanical tips throughout, so kind of how you can practically apply some of this newfound knowledge. Mm-hmm. And the author, he's the real deal. I'll read this. He's a botanist, researcher, and educator with a focus on tropical plants. But people, this isn't about tropical plants. It's about plants.
It's just plants.
Yeah. The curator of the Wertheim Conservatory and Greenhouses at Florida International University in Miami, where he directed the restoration of the conservatory and maintained their research plant collections. He's collaborated with scientists worldwide on plant ecology research, has taught graduate and undergraduate level courses on tropical plant taxonomy. He guides garden tours and workshops for students, garden clubs, and the general public. In addition, he was a palm biologist for the Center for Tropical Plant Conservation at the Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden in Florida. And he also educates houseplant enthusiasts through an online course called The Botany of Houseplants. Anyway, this is a great book. We are pleased.
It is a really good book. And I think the difference between it and a regular gardening book is this gets down to almost the cellular level of why certain things work with plants. And I think there's a lot of really bad gardening information out there.
There is.
Did you say there is as a question mark?
No, there is as a statement.
Yeah, there is.
A statement of confirmation.
Yeah, because, and we could go into all that, but we don't have to. This talks about how plants photosynthesize.
Yep.
It also talks about how plants react to their environment and know how to, like, for example, they know when sunlight's lengthening. Mm-hmm. And the greenhouse is a great example of this. It even shows up more than you're in your house. The plants just hang in there. All the cuttings I take just hang in there until the solstice. And once the winter solstice is over and the light starts to be more during the day, all of a sudden they start to grow. And that's when I take a lot of extra cuttings of coleus and other things. So I just think it's interesting. And they also wrote on the jacket that it's how light can inhibit or facilitate chemical reactions in a plant, and how they access water and different nutrients, and how they have lifelong partnerships with other organisms like microorganisms.
And ants.
And ants. Well, and mice. Think about mice and viola seeds, and ants and viola seeds. They drag them around. So that's why you find the dogtooth violet all over your paths, in my case, because everybody drags them over to the paths. So anyway, fascinating stuff. I thought it was a great book.
I did too. This one's staying here in my library, and that's A Gardener's Guide to Botany by Scott Zona, Ph.D. And I think actually this book comes out, official release date was December 6th last year. So readily available. We put links to bookshop.org and Amazon for it. Get it, people.
Right. Yeah, it's a really good one if you like knowing how plants work. Ready for the next quote?
Yes, ma'am.
Do one thing every day that scares you. Eleanor Roosevelt. Go, Eleanor. Good. So we thought this was funny in front of our dirt, and you found our dirt.
Oh, my gosh. So Mike wrote, who has Dirty Jobs, the show, it's back, you know.
Yes, I love Mike Rowe. Yeah.
So I watched this little clip on YouTube where he went down to North Carolina where the guy grows the Carolina Reaper hot peppers.
Yeah.
And, he showed how they pick the peppers and then they put them in a big slurry to get all the seeds out. And then, strain them off and get all the seeds. And the guy sells 10 seeds for $7. So when I cut hot peppers sometimes, I start to choke. Those oils and stuff get in the air. Mm-hmm. So this guy's talking and going on like nothing's going on. And Mike is about to die, choking and gasping. He looks like he wants to throw up. And he didn't really even touch him. He's just in the room with them.
Right.
And so we'll put that clip on there so people can see that some of these hot peppers, they're really no joke. They're hot.
Right. Didn't you tell me that there's somewhere that this is sold at some farmer's market and the guy keeps all of the really hot stuff like this one behind?
Yeah, I think
you have to ask for them.
The pepper guy at the local farmer's market, you do have to ask for the hottest hot peppers. I think he's growing some Carolina Reapers, but I don't know if he makes you sign a waiver, but I
don't know.
They're no joke. And anyway,
No.
So I just thought to laugh at Mike Rowe, who gets himself into the most ridiculous predicaments sometimes. I mean, I just think it's a good clip to watch. And
it sounds like it's a blast.
He survives it, obviously. But
right. That's like when Claire and I ate those ghost pepper chips from Trader Joe's, and they were real. I mean, it was real ghost pepper. It wasn't just a flavor. And it was so hot that we started searching online about what to do, and we finally ate peanut butter because nothing would put the fire out. And we couldn't breathe. And I thought these things are dangerous. So I've never
people end up in the emergency room if they mess around with these peppers and they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So
no, thank you. I will not be growing anything that hot.
No, but we will put that video up so people can see Mike Rowe just in the room while they're making the slurry to get the seeds out, just being in that room. So, and he's not faking it. Here's the next quote. The journey, not the arrival, matters. T.S. Eliot.
So for our rabbit holes, I'm going to talk a little bit about the OTV selection of brandy wine. So my rabbit hole was I decided to buy these. I saw that Craig LaHoulier was part of the one of the ones who selected these seeds. And so then I went to his blog, his website, and his blog on his website. And he used to have this newsletter with another lady. She has since passed. And it was called Off the Vine. And it's a really interesting newsletter that they wrote about tomatoes. And they wrote it for quite a while. And then some of it didn't get published. And so some of it he put on his blog. So if you want to go to his website and learn about all these tomatoes that they tested, you can. And what I found interesting about reading some of the posts that really got me down the rabbit hole was that I've grown a bunch of these tomatoes now. So it shows how influential their partnership was. And I feel really bad that I did not write down her name. She was a seed saver, and she met Craig because I think she sent him some seeds. And then he came to really like her. They became really good friends, and they argued a lot about tomatoes. Not so much on the newsletter, but personally, because he wrote after her passing, he dedicated a blog post to it. So Off the Vine has a brandy wine that is considered one of the best brandy wines out there because it's supposed to be more disease resistant and still have the great flavor. It is still a potato leaf. And that's all I have to say about my rabbit hole.
That's a pretty good
Carol
rabbit
is trying
hole.
to find this lady's name.
I'm trying to find the lady's name for you.
Why don't you talk? Did you find it yet?
Sue?
Her name might be Sue.
Or Caroline Mail?
That's it, Caroline Mail. I was like, Sue doesn't sound right. Yeah, I think Sue might be his wife. Caroline Mail she was considered one of the best seed savers out there. And they were both members of seedsavers.org too.
Very nice.
Which, that's another good, if you don't get the Seed Savers catalog, you might, go on their website and ask for it or just peruse their website because they really have some great seeds. And what it made me think of and why it became a rabbit hole was partly because I thought way, way back when we first started gardening, even when you and I first met each other in 2007, 2006.
Yeah.
there weren't as many heirlooms on the market
There were
as
not.
there are now. And now there are just lots and lots more. And also, they've used some of the heirloom technology in more current vegetables to make them better too. So
Very nice.
there you go.
So my rabbit hole is I subscribe to this year Substack newsletter called Diaries of Note. And I don't even know the name of the person who does it. But if you just search for Diaries of Note on Substack, so every day he's going to publish an excerpt from a diary from someone from the past. And some of these are ones that have been published as books, and they're people you've heard of, but most of the time it's like, I have never heard of this person. And, you can be, you want to read it when you got a time to click on the link to see more, because it could lead to a big read pile, because I'm always fascinated by diaries, because, my grandmother's diaries that I still want to put into a book form, at least for family. So that's my rabbit hole. But I got to tell you, I don't know if it's the ones he's picking, but a lot of these people that have these diaries, he puts a little blurb, their bio or whatever, and finds out, like the one today, the guy killed himself at some point he kills himself. And, he published this, I don't even know the name, but he published so many diary entries that it filled 155 volumes.
Wow.
And somebody spent...
I might say he's a little bit obsessed.
Well, he lived like as a recluse in a hotel in a darkened room for years, I guess. And some researcher at Harvard, where these are all stored, spent like 10 years whittling it down into like a 2-volume set. It's just crazy stuff like that.
That is crazy.
So that was kind of the rabbit hole. And every day, a little, you like open a door and it's like, do I want to go down this rabbit hole? No, I'm going to close this door today. It's interesting. Move on.
Yeah. Some rabbit holes are sad.
That's right.
So there you go. All right. Our garden commissions. I am starting the onion and leek seeds this week. In fact, I'll probably sow them tomorrow because I've got time. I'm also clearing out my cut flower beds because I never took down my zinnias and stuff. I still have flowers out there. They're dead. And I need to cut back the hellebores in the front border. We got them all cut back in the back borders and did a little bit of clearing out. I know it's a little bit early for those of you who worry about, the creatures in the garden. But I have to start in January or I'll never get it done.
True that.
It's too much garden for somebody who's 60. I'm just saying. All right. How about you?
There you are, throwing that age thing around. So I still need to pot up my lily, the valley pips. I might do it later today. Got to watch over my microgreens. I have something called basic salad, spicy salad. The first crop of celery kind of was like I screwed up and let it dry out. So I've got more celery, dill, basil, and cilantro growing. So
wow.
But
do you eat all those?
But let me explain. I have a flat, and then I bought these 5x5 containers. So there's 10 of them. So when I harvest, I get a 5x5 container of them. And so
we need a blog post about this.
So it's not that many because it's in a little 5x5 container. So I can do up to 10 containers at a time.
Well, how many do you use when you eat them on your sandwich or your salad?
So
your soup?
I picked this basic blend, and I probably used a third of it on a salad today and a third yesterday, and I'll use a third. So they won't last forever. And
do you cut them more than once, or do you just cut them the one time?
I usually just cut them once, and then I put new soil in. Now, I will say that I did experiment with some cilantro, and it actually regrew enough to cut again. So anyway.
I figured I've grown them before. I just kind of forgot how I did it.
So my sake, I'm not doing like a whole flat because you have way too many. 5x5 containers in the flat. So I got to watch over African blue basil. And then I actually do need to look and see my seed starting supplies and start making a list of how many of each of these flower seeds. And, I kind of know the tomato and peppers, how many I'll do of those to see if I have enough room. And I have a shelving unit in the sunroom with lights. I have extra lights around here somewhere. And it's like, do I need to get another temporary shelf set up somewhere? So I'm going to try to figure that out. So when it's time for me to start seeds indoors, which will be a couple more weeks for the earlies, I will have everything ready. That's it. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, sounds good. Mine's all ready to go. I keep it in the basement. And we'll talk more about seeds starting next week. I did go back and look at my post last year.
Yeah.
About how many tomatoes I grew. It's on my blog. I grew 19.
That's
19.
That's a goodly number.
19 varieties.
That's a goodly number.
And that means some of them I had 2 of. And so that's stupid. And I'm not doing that this year. I've limited myself. I'm not doing 19. And then I'll have room to do my peppers and give them some sunlight, and my eggplant, and some of my basil and other stuff. Because that reminds me, I've got to order some basil. Sigh.
You know what? I
need Emerald Towers.
I have Emerald Tower seeds from last year. I bet it's still good.
I bet yours is still good. I don't have any more.
Huh.
I used them all. I gave plants away to my friends.
Way to go, Dee.
Okie doke. Well, there you go.
That's
what's going on here.
I'm going to wrap us up. I'm going to start us wrapping up.
Wrap us up.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. I hope you've hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time.
If you listen to Apple Podcasts, we'd love a 5-star review that helps us get noticed by others. Could you also share our podcast with your friends? They don't even need to be gardeners. Word of mouth is still the best way to get the word out there.
And be sure and check out our show notes for links for more information about today's topics, plus links to our own websites.
And subscribe to our Substack newsletter. I can't talk today. The Garden Angelist at substack.com, also linked to in our show notes. It's free.
And if you want to help support us, use those affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.